Karen Whitmore stood in her pristine driveway, clutching her morning coffee like a weapon, watching her 16-year-old son Tyler reverse their brand-new BMW X5 straight through the Hendersons' garage door with a thunderous crash that shook the entire Maple Heights subdivision. "Tyler!" she shrieked, her voice carrying across 3 manicured lawns. The coffee mug slipped from her hands, shattering on the pavement. A $200 piece from her Williams-Sonoma collection. "What have you done?" Tyler emerged from the smoking wreckage, his face pale as parchment. "Mom, I'm sorry. I thought I was in drive. But..." "Shut up," Karen hissed, her mind already racing. As president of the Maple Heights Homeowners Association, she'd handled crises before, but never one involving her own family. She surveyed the damage. The Hendersons' garage door hung in twisted metal strips, their lawnmower visible through the gaping hole. And worse, much worse, the BMW's rear bumper was completely destroyed. Tom Henderson came running from his house, still in his bathrobe. "Karen, is everyone okay? What happened?" "It's fine, Tom. Everything's fine." Karen's voice took on that sugar-sweet tone she used during HOA meetings when she was about to deliver devastating news. "Tyler had a little accident with the car. Boys will be boys, you know." "A little accident?" Tom's eyes widened as he took in the destruction. "Karen, that's my entire garage." "Well, accidents happen," she said, straightening her shoulders. "But I have to say, Tom, your garage door looks like it's been needing replacement for a while. The paint was peeling, and I believe we've had several discussions about property maintenance standards in this neighborhood." Tyler stared at his mother in disbelief. "Mom, what are you?" "Tyler, go to your room," Karen snapped. "Adults are talking." Tom's face flushed red. "Karen, my garage door was perfectly fine until your son drove through it." "Was it though?" Karen pulled out her phone, scrolling through her HOA violation photos. "Because I have documentation from last month showing several maintenance issues. The door was clearly a safety hazard. If anything, Tyler's accident might have prevented a worse tragedy." "You're joking," Tom said flatly. "I never joke about safety, Tom." "Now, I'm willing to work with you on this, but I think we need to consider the damage to our vehicle as well. That BMW is worth more than your entire garage." Tom's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "You want me to pay for your car?" "I want what's fair," Karen replied smoothly. Tyler was obviously startled by the garage door's structural instability. "It's a clear case of property hazard liability. I'll need to file a report with the HOA board, of course." "The HOA board that you run?" "The democratically elected board, yes." Karen's smile could have frozen hell. "I'm sure they'll be very interested in this safety violation." As neighbors began gathering, drawn by the commotion, Karen felt a familiar thrill. She'd turned potential disaster into opportunity before. The Peterson swimming pool incident, the Martinez fence dispute, the great mailbox controversy of 2023. Each time, she'd emerged stronger, more in control. But as she watched Tom's face contort with rage and Tyler flee toward the house, she didn't notice Mrs. Chen from across the street, quietly recording everything on her phone. Within hours, Tom Henderson was on the phone with other residents, spreading the news. The same neighbors who'd celebrated Karen's removal were now demanding answers about missing funds and questionable contracts. At the next board meeting, Karen sat in the back row, no longer president, but somehow still the most powerful person in the room. The remaining board members fielded angry questions about inflated contracts and potential embezzlement. "Where's the money?" resident after resident demanded. Karen raised her hand. "If I may, I have some documentation that might help explain the financial irregularities." She was invited to the front, her files once again spread across the table. Every revelation was perfectly timed, every accusation carefully documented. By the end of the meeting, the entire board had resigned. "We need new leadership," elderly Mrs. Patterson said. "Someone who understands the community's needs." Several voices called out, "Karen. Karen should run." "Oh, I couldn't," Karen said modestly. "After the way I handled Tyler's accident, I don't think I'm the right person. But if the community insists..." The vote was unanimous. Again. 2 weeks later, Karen stood in her driveway, watching contractors repair the Henderson garage, paid for by the community fund, as she'd graciously approved. Tyler's BMW had been quietly fixed through insurance, and the boy was grounded until college. Her phone buzzed with a text from Margaret Phillips. The audit found $200,000 in questionable expenditures. The state attorney general wants to meet with you. Karen deleted the message. She'd hidden her own financial improprieties among the evidence against her former allies. The audit would find exactly what she wanted them to find. Mrs. Chen approached from across the street, her phone ready to record. Karen, I wanted to apologize for posting that video. It caused such a mess. No need to apologize, Karen said warmly. Sometimes the community needs to see the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. As Mrs. Chen walked away, Karen's smile faded. The truth was, she'd learned something valuable from her brief exile. Being hated openly was less effective than being feared quietly. The new HOA board, handpicked by Karen and grateful for her expertise, would be more subtle. No more dramatic confrontations, no more obvious power plays. But the rules would be stricter than ever. Tyler appeared beside her, still sullen about his punishment. Mom, are you really going to keep running the HOL? Karen watched the sun set over Maple Heights, her domain stretching out before her like a chessboard. Someone has to maintain standards, Tyler. And after all the chaos, I think people are ready for strong leadership again. Her phone rang. Another reporter, wanting to interview the reformed HOA president who'd exposed corruption in her own community. Karen Whitmore had learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes you have to burn everything down to rebuild it exactly the way you want it. But she still hadn't forgotten about Mrs. Chen's video. That debt would be paid eventually. After all, Karen was a patient woman, and patient women always got their revenge. 3 days later, Karen sat across from investigative reporter Daniel Morrison in a downtown coffee shop. Her accordion files spread across the table like evidence in a federal case. The initial humiliation had crystallized into something far more dangerous: methodical revenge. This is interesting, Morrison said, examining an invoice. Your community paid $47,000 for pool maintenance last year, but I see here that Jerry Walsh owns the pool company. Jerry's been very helpful with board decisions, Karen replied, her voice steady now, especially regarding contract approvals. Morrison flipped through more documents. And Susan Martinez's husband's landscaping company received $120,000 over 3 years. Was this disclosed to residents? I raised concerns about conflicts of interest. The board overruled me. Karen's lie came smoothly. In reality, she'd orchestrated these arrangements herself. But the documentation could be interpreted either way. You documented everything, Morrison observed. I believe in transparency. Karen allowed herself a small smile. Unfortunately, some board members prioritized profits over community interests. The story broke the following Monday. HOA corruption scandal. Board members profit from community contracts. Karen's strategic document leak painted her as the whistleblower, the lone voice trying to protect residents from financial exploitation. Jerry Walsh's pool company contract was immediately suspended. Susan Martinez resigned from the board in disgrace. The management company launched a forensic audit. But Karen's masterstroke came when she called Tom Henderson. Tom, I want to apologize, she said, her voice perfectly calibrated with remorse. I've been thinking about what happened, and I realize I let my emotions cloud my judgment. Tyler's accident was completely his fault, and I should have handled it differently. Tom, caught off guard by this apparent humanity, softened slightly. Well, Karen, I appreciate that. Maybe we can work something out. Actually, I've been investigating our HOA finances, and I've discovered some disturbing irregularities. The board's been awarding contracts to their own businesses. The Community Reserve Fund might be compromised. What does that mean? It means you might not be able to get your garage repaired through the community insurance policy. The management company is freezing all expenditures pending an investigation. Tom's voice hardened. Karen, are you saying? I'm saying I tried to warn everyone about financial mismanagement, but the board silenced me. Now we're all paying the price. The emergency board meeting convened at 7 p.m. in the community center, but Karen had to enter through the back door to avoid the crowd of protesters and reporters. Inside, she faced a tribunal of her own making. The same board members who'd rubber-stamped her decisions for years now sat across from her like judges. Karen, Margaret Phillips began, her voice professional but cold. The management company has received 847 complaints as of 6 p.m. The video has been viewed 2.3 million times. We have news crews from 5 states requesting interviews. And Karen straightened her shoulders, falling back on her old armor of authority. Since when do we make HOA decisions based on social media nonsense? Jerry Walsh cleared his throat. Since those social media users started researching our community. Karen, they found everything. The Martinez fence fine, the Peterson pool violation, the Christmas decoration incident. There's an entire Reddit thread documenting what they're calling Karen's reign of terror. Those were legitimate violations. You fined Mrs. Patterson $500 for hanging a bird feeder, Susan Martinez interrupted. Her husband had just died, and you fined her for a bird feeder. Rules are rules, Karen said, but her voice lacked its usual conviction. No, Karen. This is about power. It's always been about power. Jerry pulled out his phone. Do you know what your approval rating is in this neighborhood? We ran a poll. 3%. 3% of residents approve of your leadership. Karen felt the walls closing in. You can't just. Actually, we can. Margaret slid a document across the table. According to the HOA bylaws, a board president can be removed for conduct detrimental to the community. I'd say a viral video making us a national laughingstock qualifies. You're going to let the mob make our decisions now? The mob? Susan laughed bitterly. Karen, you mean our neighbors? The people who live here? The ones you've terrorized for 15 years? Through the windows, Karen could see the protesters. Someone had brought a projector and was playing Mrs. Chen's video on a loop against the community center wall. The crowd cheered every time Karen demanded compensation for the BMW. I built this community, Karen said, her voice rising. I maintained property values. I kept standards. You built a dictatorship, Jerry said quietly. And now it's over. The vote was unanimous. Again. But as Karen sat in her car afterward, watching the celebration in the community center parking lot, she realized something that none of them understood. She'd been documenting everything for 15 years. Every violation, every complaint, every board decision, and some of those decisions, the ones about reserve funds, contractor selections, and expense approvals, might interest the state attorney general's office. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I saw the news. I'm the reporter who broke the story about Pine Valley HOA corruption last year. Would you be interested in talking? I think your neighbors might be surprised by what they'd learn about their community finances. Karen stared at the message. Tyler and David weren't speaking to her. The neighborhood hated her. She'd lost everything. But Karen Whitmore hadn't survived 15 years of HOA politics by giving up easily. If they wanted to destroy her, she'd make sure they understood the cost. She typed back, yes, let's talk. Karen's hands trembled as she scrolled through the comments under Mrs. Chen's video. The footage was damning. Tyler's BMW crashing through the garage door, Karen's immediate shift to blame mode, and her outrageous demand for compensation, all captured in crystal clear 4K. This woman is insane, read the top comment with 12,000 likes. Someone needs to stop HOA Karens like this. Her phone rang. Channel 7 News. Ms. Whitmore, this is Jennifer Walsh from Channel 7. We'd like to get your side of the story regarding the incident this morning. Karen hung up. Immediately, it rang again. Channel 12. Then Channel 5. The numbers she didn't recognize. Tyler appeared in the doorway, his face ashen. Mom, kids at school are sharing the video. They're calling me Crash Kid, and you. Well, they're calling you. I don't care what they're calling me, Karen snapped, though her voice cracked slightly. This will blow over. It always does. But even as she said it, she knew this was different. The video had exploded across social media platforms. Her phone showed missed calls from concerned board members, angry neighbors, and, most terrifyingly, the district manager of their HOA management company. The doorbell rang. Karen peered through the blinds to see a reporter with a cameraman. Then another. Then 3 more. "Mrs. Whitmore," one shouted, "can you comment on the viral video?" Karen's perfectly controlled world was crumbling. For 15 years, she'd ruled Maple Heights through fear, intimidation, and procedural manipulation. Residents might hate her, but they obeyed her. Now, the entire internet was watching. Her husband David arrived home from work, pushing through the crowd of reporters. "Karen, what the hell is going on? My boss showed me some video." "It's being taken out of context," Karen said, but her usual confidence was wavering. "The media always twists things." "Twists what?" "Our son destroyed their garage, and you're trying to make them pay for it." "I'm protecting our family." "That garage door was a safety hazard." "Karen, stop. Just stop." David's voice carried a weariness she'd never heard before. "I've watched you terrorize this neighborhood for years. I told myself you were just being thorough, maintaining standards. But this," he gestured toward the reporters outside, "this is insane." The phone rang again. This time it was Margaret Phillips, the district manager. "Karen, we need to talk. The management company has received over 300 complaints in the last hour. The board is demanding an emergency meeting." "Good," Karen said, finding her footing again. "I'll explain the situation to them." "No, Karen, you don't understand. They're calling for your removal. The mayor's office is involved. The story is trending nationally." Karen's mouth went dry. Trending nationally? #HOA Karen is the number 3 trending topic on Twitter. There are memes, Karen. Memes about you. After hanging up, Karen stood in her kitchen, surrounded by her collection of HOA violation documentation, her color-coded filing system, her framed certificates of appreciation from various neighborhood committees. The fortress of bureaucracy she built was crumbling. Tyler appeared again, holding his phone. "Mom, someone found our address. They're posting it online." Through the window, Karen saw more cars arriving. Not just reporters now, neighbors, curious onlookers, and what looked like protesters with signs. One sign read, "HONK, if you AKT HOA care are hence." The honking had already begun. By noon, Karen had called an emergency HOA board meeting, assembled her color-coded evidence files, and prepared what she privately called the Henderson Offensive. She sat at the head of the conference table in the community center, surrounded by board members who'd learned long ago that opposing Karen Whitmore was a dangerous game. "Gentlemen," she began, adjusting her reading glasses, "we have a serious safety issue that could expose our entire community to liability." Ward member Jerry Walsh, a retired accountant who'd made the mistake of questioning Karen's budget allocations last year, shifted uncomfortably. "Karen, I saw the crash from my window. Your son drove straight through." "What you saw," Karen interrupted, "was a mechanical failure caused by a structurally compromised garage door. I've documented multiple violations." She slid photos across the table. Peeling paint, rust stains, and most importantly, a door that clearly wasn't properly maintained. Board member Susan Martinez examined the photos. "These look like normal wear and tear to me." "Normal wear and tear that created a hazardous condition," Karen countered. "Our insurance company will be very interested in this liability issue, not to mention the property value implications for the entire neighborhood." The room fell silent. Karen's ability to weaponize property values was legendary. She'd successfully argued that allowing pink flamingos constituted a $50,000 per house value decrease. "What exactly are you proposing?" Jerry asked carefully. "The Henderson property needs to bring their garage up to code at their own expense. And," Karen paused for effect, "they need to compensate us for the damages caused by their negligent maintenance." "Compensate you?" Susan's voice rose. "Karen, your son crashed into their garage." "My son was the victim of a property hazard," Karen replied coolly. The BMW sustained $8,000 in damage. Tyler has whiplash. I'm considering consulting our attorney about pain and suffering. The board members exchanged nervous glances. They'd seen Karen destroy homeowners over lawn height infractions and unauthorized Christmas decorations. Fighting her was like wrestling a tornado. I'll need unanimous board approval for the violation notice, Karen continued. And I want the Hendersons notified that any attempt to file insurance claims or involve outside authorities will result in additional HOA actions. Jerry cleared his throat. Karen, I don't think. I know you don't think, Jerry. That's why I do the thinking for this board. Karen's voice carried a steel edge. Unless you prefer to explain to every homeowner why their property values dropped because we allowed safety hazards to persist. The vote was unanimous. It always was. But as Karen drove home, savoring her victory, she didn't notice the crowd gathering in the Hendersons' driveway. Tom Henderson had made some phone calls of his own, and 3 local news vans were pulling up to the curb. Karen's phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. Mom, you need to see the news. It's about us. She grabbed her phone, her blood running cold as she read the headline. Howell president demands payment after son crashes into neighbor's garage. Below it, Mrs. Chen's video had already garnered 50,000 views.